Well, folks, it is the Allied Rivals once again.
Yes, sir.
Let's get right into it.
Oh, yeah.
Allied Rivals.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I already said, we are the Allied Rivals podcast. That is A.J. Herschel, the kid, and I'm Cademan Bauer. We are here to talk about Ben Simmons, but before we do, AJ, how's it going?
Not bad. A little tired today, but doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Got an early morning football practice, so
Fun.
in one way refreshing, but the start was just no one was ready. So
but
you know what? Doing great now. It's Allied Rivals time.
Yes, sir.
You know what? We got a comment from Livewire a few days ago asking if we would do a Ben Simmons episode.
Yep.
So
here we are.
Not? So we're here to do it. So Livewire, if you see this, comment, just tell us what you think about this whole thing, or anyone else for that matter. So AJ, there's really 4 things I want to talk about with the Ben Simmons thing. So the first one was he didn't show up to a bunch of the preseason stuff, workouts, games, practices.
Right.
So the Sixers ended up fining him $1.4 million for that whole thing.
Yeah.
And which was like about $350,000 for each preseason game missed. But then he comes. So then there's a lot of talk about a trade.
Right.
And the trade that was proposed was a 3-way deal between the Heat, the Sixers, and the Nets.
Right.
So let me read you what the
Go ahead.
Trade was going to be. So the Heat would receive Kyrie Irving and a second-round pick in 2023 from the Sixers.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons goes to Brooklyn, and then the 76ers would get Kyle Lowry. 76ers would get Kyle Lowry, Cam Thomas, and a couple first-round picks from the Heat.
Right.
Which, you know what, that's honestly a pretty good trade, and I feel like all those teams would benefit from it in different ways.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Sixers just don't want to do it.
That wasn't a real trade too. That was a
no. It was But you know what? Doc Rivers didn't like it. Morey didn't like it. So it just never went through. AJ, do you think this would have been a good trade for Ben Simmons?
For Ben Simmons,
and everyone else, I guess.
For the Heat, essentially, what are they swapping? They're swapping they're giving away 2 first-rounders, and they're getting Kyrie. So the chances of you getting a better point guard than Kyrie in the NBA right now is pretty slim. There's only a couple people I consider better than him. And look, Kyle Lowry's good. He's a consistent all-star almost every single year. He's very underrated, but it's definitely an upgrade, I think, for Miami.
Yeah.
The
Kyle
Sixers
Lowry would be going to Philly.
Right, I was saying it's an upgrade of Kyrie over Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Sixers getting Kyle Lowry makes sense. They actually get a point guard to run the offense, because I'm one of those people who does not believe Ben Simmons is a point guard. He is a small forward, people. I know he can run point, but we've seen how he's done the last few years. What was he in college? Small forward. They get an actual person who can run point, and the Nets get better depth in Victor Oladipo, and then they get Ben Simmons to help lock up on defense, at least playing more of a Drew Holiday role than a Kyrie Irving role instead. So I think logistically it definitely makes some sense. But I don't know if the Sixers would want to have to give that away, even though I think it's good for them as well. But the Nets probably just don't want to trade their 3 bigs. I think that would be the one team that would disagree with everything, is that they just spent like 3 years getting together Kyrie and Durant and Harden, and now you're going to trade them away. That's the reason why I think this trade wouldn't go through realistically.
Okay. Yeah, but okay, so I mean, we're thinking about that, but then Kyrie isn't playing, so. And then you think about how Ben Simmons, and we'll get into this more in a minute, but I'm just thinking, I think this would have been good because Kyrie's going somewhere where he can play, and Ben Simmons is going somewhere where it's just like a good start for him. a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
So AJ, let's talk about the. I mean, there's two things I still want to talk about.
Yeah,
but he's obviously missing the the season opener tonight against the Pelicans because of what Doc Rivers said was conduct detrimental to the team. So he was thrown out of practice, not engaging. So how do you think this affects them? What do you think he's gonna do after this?
Look, for the Sixers, it's really annoying, right? You've got a guy who can't really shoot that much, whatever, but you've got a guy who's an incredible defender who can lock up on almost anyone on the perimeter. He's all defensive consideration every single year. He's a key part of the team, key part of what was the Philadelphia 76ers process. And to have him out, you're losing one of your, you could say, stars of the team, right? And for the 76ers, I think it's definitely a loss. It's like Doc Rivers said, it's detrimental to their morale, it's detrimental to the team. It reminds me a lot of when Le'Veon Bell started holding out for Pittsburgh back in like 2017, 17, I think, when he just started holding out because he wanted a new contract and didn't go to preseason workouts, didn't go. And then eventually what happens? He goes to the Jets instead, gets more money, gets what he wants. But Le'Veon Bell was one of the best players in the league at the time. Ben Simmons is not one of the best players in the NBA today. He's pushing for a trade, but I feel like he thinks that there's more value than there actually is to his stock right now.
I agree.
And maybe that's not true. Maybe he doesn't think that. Maybe he just wants to go somewhere new, whatever. But all of these big name trades, I'm seeing, Ben Simmons going for De'Aaron Fox and some people from Sacramento. They're not giving that up. Come on, man. I think his value isn't as high as a lot of people think it is. What do you think, Cade?
Yeah, Ben Simmons is not is not worth as much as he thinks he is, as you said. Like, even at the Sixers, he's not the number one. He tried to be, but he's not. Joel Embiid is the number one.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean position, but he's their best player. And Ben Simmons kind of thought he was. So
yeah, and you could make the argument Tobias Harris is really their number two instead.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, well, you know what? We got Livewire here.
What's
Livewire,
up, dude?
We are agreed. Embiid does not care about Simmons no more. Killed his value during the Atlanta playoffs game, and
we've all seen the highlight of him passing up the dunk. We've all seen it at this point. That just encapsulates it.
That really does, yeah. And going to the the Embiid, this is what he said about Ben Simmons to reporters. He said, "At this point, I don't care about that man. Honestly, he does whatever he wants." And then he talks about how they're like him and Doc Rivers and the team is not supposed to babysit him.
Right.
They're supposed to play together. They get paid to win. So it's just, he says the chemistry is better without Ben Simmons because he wasn't there preseason and they already worked everything. So I think Joel is feeling fine about it. I mean, I'm sure he's discouraged, but it's, Embiid just doesn't want him there, it seems like.
Yeah, fine definitely isn't the way that I like. Imagine if one of your people who's been on your team for like 5 years at this point since he got drafted and he just checks out and he wants out and he's not even putting in the work while he's there. One of the big things for people who want to get traded, what do? They show they're worthy of a trade to other teams. So then other teams are going to want to offer big packages. You're not going to do that if you're not participating in preseason and get suspended for the season opener because you're just hating on your team. Instead, you're not going to get that trade if you're acting like a fool, right? I'm phrasing what like Shaq and Charles Barkley were reiterating on Inside the NBA yesterday, but you're not going to do that if you're not participating with your team because what other team is going to want to trade for you at that point? Embiid, I just think he's exhausted and tired of it, unfortunately. I feel bad for him.
Yeah. Embiid is just, you know what? He knows he's the best, and he is.
Oh, yeah. He's an MVP candidate.
He's
year.
Fed up, as you said, he's fed up with Ben Simmons, thinking he's the best, not showing up. Like, he thinks he's good enough that he doesn't have to practice hard. Or maybe he just thinks, he probably just doesn't realize that he's not going to get traded if he has this kind of attitude. That doesn't help your resume.
Yeah. Yeah. And at this point, we don't even know what's running through Ben Simmons' head. That's the funny thing to me. The one person we haven't heard about with this is Ben Simmons. We've heard what Embiid had to say. We've heard Doc Rivers, heard everybody else, but we haven't heard him. Like, even when Harden wanted out of Houston, it's pretty stinking obvious. He said he wanted to go somewhere else. He made it known to everybody. And Ben Simmons just checked out.
Yeah. All right, well, we got comments. Flip It. What's up, caveman? That's a new one. What's up, Flip It? How's it going?
What's up, dude?
Comment. Tell us about what you think about this whole deal. Any videos you want us to make, just comment. Thanks for joining us. And we got Livewire again. Simmons relied more on Joel to do the work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he did. And that was partially because I feel like he thought he didn't have to work because he thinks he's greater than he is. So Joel ended up doing more of the work because he's better.
Yeah, I definitely think one of the other things, just the fact that I don't think the Sixers are using him properly. He's not a point guard to me. He's not the best. He's a
6'10".
Yeah, he's exactly. He's a decent facilitator. He's not a very good free throw shooter. He's going to the basket. He's okay and can't hit jumpers. What other point guard in the NBA does that describe? That's a defensive shooting. That's a defensive small forward. Like, the only comp I can possibly give him is Drew Holiday. And at least Holiday crashes the basket all the time to try to get layups. Sure, he gets hot and he gets cold every now and then, but he shoots the ball. Like, I can't think of another player that's the same play style of Ben Simmons.
Yeah, and as Livewire says, Simmons was scared to shoot the ball. Embiid's hitting threes. You're right. Simmons does not want to shoot the ball.
Yeah. And you want to know something funny? You want to know something funny, Caveman?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's since 2016 or 17, one of the 2 years, Ben Simmons has dated more women than he has made three-pointers.
It's too bad.
Over the past few years. Just take that into consideration. A starting point guard for what was formerly the number 1 seed in the East at one point. This is ridiculous, man.
And this is the number 1 pick in the draft. What was it, 2016?
Yeah, but I mean, granted, draft busts happen all the time, but still.
I mean, but this is like not how you use this type of player. I mean, I guess this is besides the point. We're talking about like the whole Ben Simmons drama thing, but you still don't use a guy. You want to use him where he's going to be the most helpful to your team.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
small forward.
AJ, is there anything else?
I don't think so. I guess last question. Do you think he does? And I would ask this to the comment section too, to Livewire. Do you think he gets traded? And if so, where?
I think if this whole stink keeps up and he's making a stink in practice and all that, I think they're just going to keep finding him until something happens. It's possible they'll trade him. I think if they do, they'd want to do it to gain Kyrie, to get Kyrie on their team. But then I'm thinking, do the Nets need Simmons? Like, would he fit their team? I think he would, because the interesting thing is that James Harden and Kyrie are kind of both point guards. I mean, James Harden is a 2 in this case because Kyrie was the point guard, but I think Ben Simmons could work. It'd just be interesting to see. If he does get traded, though, I think it would be to the Nets.
Interesting. Yeah. I see Livewire in the comment section saying possibly the Pacers or the Kings.
What could the Pacers give, though?
Well, the Pacers, see, that's the thing. I feel like there's not really a lot of places Ben could go unless you're a team that absolutely is just in full rebuild mode and is trying to get off a lot of your cap space and everything, right? Or trying to amass draft picks. So the Pacers, they've got Sabonis, they've got Brogdon, Karis LeVert to completely turn it up. TJ Warren, we all know about him. I mean, like, they've got some pieces for sure, but I feel like he's going to trying to give it to the Pacers and especially the Kings. I don't think the Kings should do it. You'd have to put together these are teams that are trying to build up to a finals run in a couple of years. And then you'd have to give up either your young core or draft picks to be able to do that. I feel like there's a really limited market for where he could go right now. It would have to be a team that's trying to get rid of all of their cap space at this point for me. So I don't know. I don't think the Thunder wouldn't do it. I could see maybe the Pelicans doing it because they have 1 million first-round picks over the next few years. Grizzlies, I don't think would do it either. T-Wolves, if they traded away a lot of their bench, but they're growing as well. There's just such a small market for him to go at this point, unless the Wizards just decide to go into like full tank mode and ship off Bradley Beal for Ben Simmons and maybe a couple picks or something like that. That's the only way I see it. Yeah.
Livewire sees a Damian Kyrie trade happening.
Dude, imagine if the Nets got Damian Lillard. And you have three of maybe like the top 5 shooters in the NBA on your team with KD, Harden, and Damian Lillard. They would score 170 points a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Livewire says Karis LeVert or Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think either of those guys. I don't think the Pacers want to give them up. Those guys. I don't think that. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I think Brogdon could do a solid job of running point. He could, like, as a fit with the Sixers, he'd do fine, but
he could, yeah. I mean, he ran point for the Bucks to an extent. Like when Bledsoe was out for a while, he was kind of like the point, even though he was. Yeah, I don't know.
He's more of a shooting guard, but he can facilitate.
Yeah. All right, AJ. Well, I think that's it. I think we covered the whole Ben Simmons thing.
Yeah.
People comment, tell us what you're thinking about this whole thing. I think that's it. Thank you, Livewire and Flip It, for tuning in. And folks, we will see you next time right after this.
Adios. Time out. One last thing before we go. Livewire slipped in one last question real quick. What's your thoughts on the Raptors? Kate, go.
The Raptors need a lot of work. Like, they have a lot of work to do.